All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a limited edition of Chop It Up. I say limited because it's only me and Barry today. And the people,
Like 1988 all over again.
yeah, the people on this panel, we all kind of fit together. We balance each other out. So today, we might go a little off the rails here. Me and Barry might get a little spicy. For everybody who doesn't know, and for everybody who will know, Barry and I met in 1988 while we were both in the county jail awaiting trial on our separate cases. And we were at a couple different prisons together. And then we were at the county jail together again in 2017 for the end. So we were together at the beginning and we were in the same county jail at the end when Barry got resentenced in 2017 and I ended up getting resentenced in 2019. So we go back, me and Barry go back a little ways. I got a few things to talk about for today. First thing is, I got a ticket for running a red light. And,
No.
Yeah, I did. I got a letter in the mail. It was one of those, you may already have won a $158 fine.
Yeah.
And, listen, man, red lights are serious. I mean, I like to eat steak, and $158 is still $158.
It sure is.
Especially in the economy the way it is now. And I want to get into that in a minute too. I want to talk about some job stuff. But over the weekend, I had the opportunity to go to Tampa and pick up a friend of mine. He was at a halfway house up there. He did 42 years in prison and another 11 months and some days at the halfway house. You have to stay there almost a year. And then he was allowed to, they used a halfway house like as a transition point. And then he got to go home. So I got to go pick him up. And another good friend of mine rode with me. So needless to say, when I say a good friend of mine, it's a guy I've known for a long time. And if I've known him for a long time, I met him in prison. So
pretty much most of our friends.
Yeah. So here it is. We leave South Florida, and it's me and my very good friend who has a second-degree murder case. And we go up to Tampa and pick up another guy with a second-degree murder case. So now we're driving home, and we're on the turnpike, in Martin County, and because we went up Alligator Alley and 75 to pick him up, but then we came down this way so we could go through some of the East Coast towns. And my friend in the passenger seat says, "Man, you better drive careful because if we get pulled over, it's going to be bad."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, yeah, we got 3 murder cases in one car. They're going to pull us over, and the first thing they're going to say is, 'Where's the body?' And then I'm going to have to say, 'Well, listen, man, we're in the woods. If you search for 5 square miles, I'm sure you're going to find somebody.'" Damn.
Yeah, but we didn't leave them there.
Yeah. So, and that got us to talking about, about the mark that stays with you, because
Yeah.
my friend in the passenger seat has been out for 23 years. And he had a 15-year bid. He did like 10 or 11 years on it. And even to this day, he still has that mark on him. He was at a party and some shit happened. He had nothing to do with it. And the cops came and they started getting people's names and stuff. And one of the cops pulled him to the side after they got his name and ran it and said, "Listen, man, you need to just leave here now." And he's like, "I didn't have anything to do with it." And the cop says, yeah, that's great, but you need to get the hell up out of here now because, you got some flags on your file, and I guess the flag was the second-degree murder case.
Yeah.
And then I was,
Can't outrun your past.
no, you can't, and they won't, and no one, it seems like no one will let you,
Exactly.
And that brings us to something. Hold on a second. I need a prop for this. Okay. Oh, can't show them the blank piece of paper yet. I'm about to do a read. See, a read is something that they do in broadcasting. So it's like a commercial.
Yeah.
So since it's just you and me today, I'll do a read. Hello, everybody. Do you know an ex-inmate or maybe a convicted felon? If you do, why don't you take some time out today and just let that person know it's all right? Give a felon a hug or something. Let him know it's okay. Because it's kind of tough, you know? And that came from this
Especially if they're
message
trying to
right
do
here.
the right thing.
But see, what it is, a lot of people right now are experiencing stuff that we experience all the time. For instance, I am in no way trying to minimize police brutality. Police brutality is a real thing, and it's a dangerous thing, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's something that has needed to be addressed for quite some time. If you think police brutality is bad out here in the free world, think about how bad it is in prison.
When nobody's walking around with cell phones to video capture it.
Nobody. You know, they just started putting cameras. I lean over because I got the microphone over here. Let me move it so I don't have to lean over so much. You know, they just started putting cameras in prison back in 2016. 2016. Because they had over 180 open investigations about inmate deaths. And some of them deaths were inmate. A lot of them were inmate staff, you know, where staff had abused inmates to the point where the inmates were dead.
Yeah.
You know? And
they still didn't convict nobody did it for that one in day where they got the crazy guy and put him in the shower for hours and burnt all the skin to the skin melted off his body.
Listen, I was at Charlotte Correctional Institution in 2014 when they killed Matthew Walker. They killed him. And it was all about some goddamn toilet paper. Really what it was all about was this. We had a captain on the day shift that made such a big deal about cell inspections. I mean, the whole compound shut down for this guy to do cell inspections. And then another guy on the midnight shift, right? He was so jealous of all the props that this guy got on the day shift that he wanted to start doing cell inspections on the night shift. He wanted a motherfucker's cell to be Class A at night. Like, we have to sleep in a fucking bed with a collar on it, or you can't have any of your personal property out on your table when you're in there living. This is our living time, you know? And it just shows how they diminish the humanity of a person in prison. So at night, they're going around opening doors in the middle of the night. Hey, motherfucker, get that shit off your table. You know, they're screaming and yelling. And here it is. Fish, his name was Fish, you know, his compound name, Matthew Walker. And he ended up getting into an altercation with the cops about it. And a motherfucking lieutenant who wasn't even in this area ran his happy ass down there and just started shit going, and they ended up beating him to death. And then moved the body here and moved the body there, trying to figure out where to hide it. And in the end, you know how it is. The prosecutors tell the grand jury, listen, you know, we need these people here. This is jobs, and you don't know what it is in prison. So they pretty much flim-flam and soft-core extort the grand jury to not indict any one of these bastards that ended up beating this guy to death, you know, because he's an inmate.
Needed. Yeah, because they're so essential, and no one else will take the jobs. Well, hey, pay a little more and train a little better.
If you convict
a lot more.
If you convict these guys, no one will want this job, and these are the worst of the worst. You don't understand how it is. So they completely just diminish and dehumanize a guy in prison to the point where a motherfucker could beat him to death and it doesn't even matter. You know? And that's a reality in prison, and it's been a reality for a long time. And as I'm saying, there's no way to diminish police brutality, and there's no way to diminish it at all in any aspect. Guys in prison live with police brutality on a magnitude of circumstances that people out here in the free world will never understand.
Yeah, you don't have to go to another state. You don't have to go to another prison. You will see it almost on a daily basis in the prison that you're at.
Sure.
In one form or another.
And most of the time, it starts with some petty abuse because you got some shit-eating bastard working in prison that can't get a job anywhere else. And probably has, I mean, look, I've got a GED, so I can't say only has a GED. But, I mean, his level of understanding is probably a little bit higher than that of a moron, you know. And I know some I know some morons that are all right. As long as a guy knows he's a moron and stays in his place, you know, I mean, that's cool. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's not to diminish all correction officers.
No.
Because there are some good ones there.
Sure.
But
the thing
you
is,
even have some good ones that won't say anything.
Right.
When it comes time. But I can understand because they don't want to be ostracized. Same thing with the cops. They don't be ostracized in the system because they know they get blackballed and they get punished. They get all the crap details if they dare to say something. or harassed. And, and in prison, it's even worse because they don't just harass them on the job. They'll go out and scratch their cars up, you know what I'm saying? Break stuff off the cars and stuff.
I know a lot of them that wanted to do something to help, and they had to avoid the name tag of being a, quote, inmate lover, you know what I mean, or pro-inmate. I've seen it where they haze them, where they make a cop write an inmate up who didn't do anything wrong just to prove that he's down, all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
And most of the time when there is a violent interaction with staff and inmates, it starts with something petty, some kind of petty abuse that the cop just does over and over and over, makes a pattern of it, and pretty soon one guy just wakes up an inmate having a bad day. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's easy to have a bad day when you're doing a life sentence. A guy wakes up having a bad day, and then the altercation ensues.
Yeah, and most of the time it's like an authority complex. Yeah. Anytime you dare to tell them that they're wrong.
Oh, sure.
Or that they're actually wrong, that's when most of the issues start. Like you say, it could be something like something petty, like extra roll of toilet paper.
Oh, pass to the law library.
Yeah, pass to the law library. Hey, let me get a pass. I ain't writing shit. Don't come in and try to make me work today. It's
sure.
Which is the biggest dichotomy in the world. You get up every morning, come in, you probably tell your wife or your kids or whatever, yeah, I'm headed to work. And then you get there and say, hey, don't try to work me today.
Sure.
What you came here for?
Sure. Hey, listen, man, it's a volunteer job. And it's an easy job. I'm mad I didn't know about jobs like that before I got arrested. I could have had a job as a corrections officer.
Yeah, a do-nothing job.
Yeah.
Even though most of them are out in the sticks somewhere, so the locale is not all that great.
Sure. And the crazy thing, especially about the law library situation, is the law library is a very serious spot. This is where guys go to try and get relief. I mean, I wrote the motion that eventually freed me from prison in a law library, in a prison.
Yeah.
And when you get a deadline, which means you get a notice in the mail that says, hey, you got 15 days to file something, it's your responsibility as a pro se litigant to go to the law library and arrange a daily call out so you can do your work. So the first step in that is going to your dorm officer and saying, hey, I've got a deadline, and they look at it, they recognize it as a legal document, and they write you a pass to the law library so you can start the process of being placed on the daily call out. So that whole process gets thrown out of whack when you walk up to the officer station and you got some hungover fat bastard who says, hey, man, I don't feel like doing no goddamn work today. Get your stupid ass away from me.
Yeah, but this is your freedom you facing.
Yeah, and, I mean, this is...
And the courts don't want to hear about, hey, the officer wouldn't write me a pass to the law library.
I'm gonna write a motion in pen and paper and send it to the court. Says, hey, man, I couldn't get to the law library because this lazy cop didn't want to write me a pass.
Yeah, so I couldn't look up in the case laws. So I couldn't cite any case laws in here because I don't know them off the top of my head like that, and I have never seen them, so I never got a chance to research them.
Here's some shit I think is right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we'll give you relief based on that. No, they're going to throw your ass out of there and start barring you for frivolous motions and excessive motions. Yeah,
they're going to tell you you're bad.
Yeah.
Another thing lately is, I'm self-employed. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm also going to study to be a drone pilot. And people hear, oh, wow, you're self-employed. And especially like the dudes in prison that I write, they think self-employed means rich.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, he's self-employed. He's rolling in the dough. Well, I'm self-employed, number one, because I think the job that I do, I can do best on my own. And number two, because it's tough getting a good job with the kind of history that I have or lack of history that I have. Like I have too much of one kind of history, which is criminal history, and I have not enough of another, which is employment history. I've got a 32-year hole in my resume.
Yeah.
So
me too. And a lot of jobs I went on for, sorry to cut you off, but a lot of jobs I went, and I was applying. And I was getting interviews, and they were liking, they were liking my resume, they were liking what I was saying. And then they sent it to HR. And there's some guys that you never talk to, and they sit there and look on the computer and they see your record and like, nope. I mean, I even went so far as to tell them, hey, listen, man, I got some issues. Man, I caught a case, 30 years ago, and this would happen when I was a teenager, blah, blah, blah. And I break the whole spiel down to them, let them know, okay, I'm straightforward with you. And they're like, you know what? Okay, don't worry about it. I've even watched them write down to the HR, it's going to be a background history, disregard. And they still come back and say, nope.
Oh, sure. Listen, here's something that's ironic. Right now, on probation, everybody is non-reporting because of the COVID situation.
Yeah.
Again, they had ramped it up. We're saying that we could go, and now they've changed that again where they don't want anybody reporting in. And my probation officer
last month.
Huh?
I said they made me report last month.
Right, but that was while they were still in the reopening. I had a physical interview date for next week, but they switched it to a telephone interview date this week because of the COVID, right? So my probation officer put me in for a program called IOTS, which is the Interactive Offender Tracking System, where you just call up, on the phone, and I'm holding my phone case, by the way. My phone's over here. But you get on the phone and you call. Yeah, look, this is my screensaver. It's a black and white picture of the X-Men villain Mystique. But it's because I got a form of color blindness, so I just put it in black and white, so it's easier for me to see.
Yeah, so you know what color it is. Then.
Yeah. So anyway, he put me in for IOTS, and I went through the process of logging in my voice print and everything, and I paid the money for a whole year, and then my probation officer calls me back and he said, man, I got some bad news. My supervisor denied you for the IOTS program because of your charge. And I said, man, it's cool. And he's like, man, and he really went to bat for me. And I told him, I said, look, man, I get it, man. I understand, and I had to tell him, I said, listen, man, I have lost potential clients because of my charge. You know what I mean? And there were times that I met women, and told them about my crime, and my record, and they were like, oh yeah, that's okay, call me tomorrow, and then never call, I call, they're always busy,
Yeah.
And the clients, I tell my clients about it, and, I get the bro hug and everything's cool, but then I get a text message later on that night, they changed my hours, I hurt my back, I don't have time, like, they can't tell me that face to face. I guess they're afraid that I'll snap.
Afraid you're gonna catch another charge.
Yeah, and then they tell me later. So I told him, I said, man, look, I get it, but here's the ironic thing. Right now, everybody is non-reporting. The difference is now my probation officer has to participate in it instead of me just calling and giving them my voice print that I'm still alive, I'm still here, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay the $7. It's free.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. You remember in school we had to read that I think it was like a play or a story, The Scarlet Letter, about the woman who committed adultery and she had to wear the red A around.
Red A, yeah.
So like it feels like I'm running around with a black M on me, like forever. That's the murderer. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what forces you to be self-employed, which is not easy because it's not cheap to start up anything.
Hell no.
Like now, I'm getting ready to start up with the AC thing, So I paid and got went to school, learned air conditioning, refrigeration. So I got my EPA license. So now it's a matter of getting the tools, but the tools are expensive. I was just walking around looking for some tanks.
You can maybe look to subcontract out for one of those bigger companies. I know a guy who's still in prison now, and that's what he used to do. And then eventually they gave him his own truck, and they gave him like a neighborhood, hey, this is yours. You start out kind of like a paper boy. You can contact him.
Yeah, that's my next goal, yeah.
My next goal is to be a drone pilot.
Getting up the finances to get all the supplies. And I mean, it's not super expensive, but hey, $300 for some tanks is expensive when you got bills to pay.
It's still $300 when you got bills to pay. Yeah.
But I'm gonna make it happen anyway, and that's the one thing about being in prison. Does make you resilient, and it does make you keep your determination and focus straight.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's see. You know, something we never do when the other guys are around. Maybe we need like a little bit of a soundtrack.
Soundtrack?
Yeah. Like
Sounds
we could
good.
break for a commercial and then come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bumper music, have a little bit of bumper music. Let's see.
So what, Reba's working?
Yeah, Rebus is working. Oh, yeah, everybody listen. Sorry, I forgot to give you the update. Rebus is working and Michelle is sick. So shout out to Rebus and Michelle. Rebus,
Yeah.
glad you're still finding work. Michelle, hope you get better.
Sure.
Sorry
Prayers
about
to
that.
Get better soon, yeah.
Yeah, better late than never, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have to figure out some bumper music. I don't really have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any bumper
Yeah,
music.
especially on our intro too. We probably do need a little something. A
Yeah,
soundtrack
you know.
for our intro.
Some of the stuff I listen to, I don't think is suitable. Yeah. I mean, we could come in with this one. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, we done.
Something like that.
We down with the old.
Yeah. You know, I got
OPP.
some other stuff. Yeah, I got some other stuff.
But in our case, what will OPP stand for?
I don't know, man.
Old prison pass?
Yeah, right? Something. Let's see. Yeah, I can't think of too much else. I got other stuff, but you know.
Yeah,
Have to
but
get
I mean,
have
that's
to
a
get
good
up some
subject
music.
too about the realistic expectations of dudes getting out thinking, you know, that and people family thinking that, hey, you gonna get out, you gonna get a job and this and that there. I'm quite sure, and when you see a guy trying, don't think that he just really don't want to work. It is very hard to get a job.
Yeah,
Unless you want to be working for minimum wage all your life, you know, and it's still hard to even get those jobs.
sure.
Everybody does. Everybody does a background check.
And the thing
And
is,
they don't even have to, they just run your name through through Google and a lot of stuff gonna come up anyway.
yeah,
They don't even have to do anything deep.
no. And the other thing is, you know, everybody knows somebody else. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's got a friend, everybody's got a cousin, a
Yeah.
nephew, you know, that they put in their jobs. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we're the guys that are always passed over. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
dude. If you've been gone for 30 years, so you haven't had a chance to
Network.
build those kind of connections and networking.
Yeah. Yeah, our network sucks.
That's one of the things they tell you about. That's one thing they tell you about in prison. You know, yeah, you got to network when you get out there. Yeah, but okay, I've been gone 30 years. I don't know anybody
I'm telling
except
you.
other convicts.
I'm telling you.
And most of them were lucky to get in that spot. And they were like, yeah, man, I got in at a good time, you know.
Wow.
So they can't really get you in.
I just got an email from Dick's Sporting Goods. Something I want is back in stock. Oh, I don't want that anymore. I've already got one of those. I'm waiting on some 25-pound plates. I was hoping it was them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of spots you could just go and get those things. And, you know,
Not
just go
anymore.
pick 'em up
Not
and-
right now.
Yeah, now you got to order.
Even the ordering,
Go-
there's nothing. There's a
Nah.
lot. Man, I spent yesterday, I must have spent 2 or 3 hours just trying to track down some fitness equipment, some medicine balls, and
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, nothing. I'm glad that we're a fitness society. I just wish they'd leave some of that shit for me.
For real.
Yeah. Did you see how now they're making a big deal that they charge those cops that shot the guy, Aubrey,
Yeah.
in Georgia? You
Yeah.
know, it's
And
crazy.
but my biggest thing is they can charge them all they want until I see juries start convicting these guys. And like you said, until they, like we talked about before, until they change the laws to, you know, make it definitive. Hey, this kind of abuse by law
Yeah.
enforcement.
I mean,
Period. So then it's clear that it's, you know, no reasonable doubt you violated this here.
it's
you
a
a civil
simple
servant?
situation. You have two specific classes. You have the law enforcement officer who's part of a class, and then you have the restrained or unrestrained, two different classes now, the unrestrained defendant and the restrained defendant. Or I mean, excuse me, my bad. That's because I'm still overcoming the program. I don't mean to say defendant. I mean the unrestrained victim and the restrained victim. You know, my bad calling him a defendant. I'm gonna have to edit that shit out.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes you're not, it's a good lesson learned for people out there because you're not defending yourself if you're being harassed. It's not like you got to defend a charge. You didn't do anything. It's sad to say that you might come up dead.
Yeah, but it should be easy to make those laws.
Yeah, this is not a knock on all police officers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one who said get rid of all the police because I definitely don't want to see Wild Wild West America out of here. You know.
But see, you know what it is? It's a situation where one bad cop, one bad corrections officer, overcomes the good of 100,000 good ones. You know, because 100,000 good officers. I mean, how can you equate a death versus ones who don't kill? I mean, the negative impact of one bad officer outweighs 100,000 million good ones.
Yeah. How many kids you pull out the pool and everything, once one go and kill somebody for no reason. You know, I'm not saying that they should take the guns, and make them fight it out on foot, but they should be held accountable when they go over the line.
But you know what kills me, man, and this really, really, really gets to me, is when the news, the media makes a huge deal about a guy's criminal history. You know, oh, he was convicted of possession of crack cocaine back in 2003. You know, like how the fuck does that?
What does that got to do with anything?
Yeah, you know. And besides that, I mean, listen, let's look at it. The worst, most reprehensible crimes. Just pick one. Everybody has an individual. You know, every individual has their own preference of what the worst crime is, right? So just put the worst crime on a guy. The worst crime on a guy. And even if you say that the officer knew this guy's specific criminal history, still no excuse to kill him.
No excuse, period.
And then when the officer had no fucking idea that this guy had a record, no idea what he did, who the victim was, and it's just happenstance that this dirty rat fuck of a cop ended up killing this guy, and now all the media can say is, oh, well, you know, he was convicted of possession of crack cocaine with the intent to sell in a school zone. They try to make it as bad as they can.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he was a convicted drug dealer. You know,
right. You know, he had several charges of delivery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he was convicted of dealing in stolen goods back in 1983. Yeah. I mean,
he had 2 grams of crack cocaine. He tried to sell one to the undercover so he could buy another one to smoke with. And now he deserves to die.
Even if the guy was an armed drug trafficker, even if he got caught with 100 keys, I mean, what the hell does that have to do with an officer of the law killing him?
Yeah.
You know,
and it has nothing to do with right now.
Right.
You know,
and it's just another.
When I pulled his name up, we were in fear because, like us, he was already a convicted murderer. Yeah. So I was in fear of my life.
You know,
so I was going with extreme caution. So when he turned around with his phone in his hand, I thought it was a weapon and I killed him. What I did 30 years ago does not reflect on the character that I display today.
Yeah, it fails to demonstrate who you are.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing, I mean, can you just imagine the process of how they discover that the guy has a record? So they're at their computer and they're checking him out. Look at this. This guy was dirty. Yeah. This guy had a record. And then it just shows how the media is pandering to law enforcement by even making an issue of this dude's criminal past.
And the media, you know, they're big on drama, and I think they purposely do this here. I think because they'll dramatize the shooting and everything.
But you know why that is?
And then they'll come back and then blame the victim. So now they split sides. They keep everybody angry, and so now you got everybody watching because we done excited everybody, but unjustifiably so.
And see,
and
listen,
dehumanize people.
part of the reason why they glamorize and sensationalize is because they've got commercial breaks on the news show.
Exactly.
Hey, find out the secret criminal life of victim so-and-so after the break.
Yeah.
You know?
After the break. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to make sure they keep you there.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And the thing is, networks make enough money on their other programs where they could do the news commercial free. And they should do the news commercial free.
Yeah, because they act like it's a public service that they're providing for the people.
Right.
But it's not. It's a commercial service that you provide to line your pockets.
I'll tell you something. I kind of think some of these weather girls down here are performing a public service. I'm just going to say that. Yeah. 'Cause I really enjoy seeing where the storm fronts are coming in.
Yeah.
Yes, goodness. There's one of them, though, that she needs to eat, man. She's got a big old head and some skinny-ass arms and legs. I'm not going to say what station it is down here. It's in South Florida, though, and she needs to eat, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needs to eat.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. With a lot of hair.
Big hair, big head. Yeah, you know the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the media controls the narrative on most things. And then people watch that stuff, and then they go get picked on the juries, and they done already decided via the news whether a person's guilty or not guilty or how they should decide. So when they're in the trial, they really just stand there. I'm not saying it's about everybody, because sometimes they do the right thing. But it seems in the case with these officers, you know what? And that's another thing. People's experiences, when they ask them, have you ever been, harassed by the cops or something like that, they may not have, or when they're convicting the guy, they might ask, been the victim of a robbery and this and that. They're like, no, but you probably know somebody who have.
Yeah.
And so you already formed your opinion.
Yeah.
So when you go in there, you already decided before it even started.
I'll tell you, part of the jury process that is extremely flawed is the death penalty certification.
Yeah.
Because most of the people who are for the death penalty are also pro-punishment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they're willing to put the death penalty to you, they're willing to give you the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so a death penalty certified jury is already slanted against you. And that has a lot to do with a lot of first-degree murder convictions, because once they're death penalty certified, they're already on the other side of the line. There's no fairness in that. Yeah, there's no fairness in that.
I was just looking at this little clip somebody sent about the guy was on what's that, America Got Talent? One of those singing shows.
Yeah, the one that was in prison all that time
for 37
and was innocent.
years. Yeah, was innocent. 37 years of his life. And you know why? Because when he came in there, the first thing the people in the jury think is, if the cops got him, he did something. They might not have evidence, but he did something. And that's the perception that we need to get rid of, is that cops' word is not infallible.
Right. Listen.
They don't.
Cops are human.
Crooked crocs that do anything.
Cops are human. Yeah, they make mistakes, But see, the thing is, it's a con game, because I have read so many cases while I was in prison about faulty identifications and flawed identifications, where a guy is a victim of a robbery. I mean, let's just use some Broward County places where we know. Like, say a guy was convicted, or a guy was robbed in Hollandale at 9:15 p.m.
Yeah.
And police arrest the guy in Coral Springs at 9:27, 12 minutes later. And then they circle back. They circle back to the victim of the robbery at like 10:15, and they say, hey, we've got your guy. We got the guy who we believe is the one who did it. And then they take him all the way to Coral Springs, where the dude is sitting handcuffed in a cop car or on a street corner or something. So they already see the guy handcuffed, and he says, that's the one, ain't it? And the guy's like, well, yeah, I guess that's the one. And there it is.
Yeah, a positive identification by the victim.
Yeah, a positive my ass. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And the crazy part about it, then like you said, they have so many studies about, just the effect and the trauma of someone pulling a gun on you.
Yeah.
You're not focusing on their features.
You're focusing on the gun.
On the gun.
Yeah. I mean,
They
it's
might
different if a
remember what
guy's
color
got a
clothes you
scar
had
down
on.
the side of his face. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Which is
Or if he
which is
talks
usually
with a
never the
lisp
case.
or something. You know, like if you're getting robbed by Sylvester the Cat or Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
right there, or I'll squeeze the trigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's easy to identify. But just the average joker, or how many times a dude got convicted because he had dreads in his hair. You know, his hair was in dreads, and the guy who did the crime was wearing dreads. I mean, it's just so much shit. And then on top of that, you know, they've got studies that show that it is difficult for some people of a certain culture, or as they say, race, to identify people of another race because they're just not familiar with the features.
Features, yeah. So
You know?
they can't differentiate between the smaller details.
Right. You know, I mean, there's plenty of studies that support that kind of stuff.
And then don't let me get started on the way that they investigate these crimes, because the way they police certain neighborhoods are totally different.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, when I was a kid, right, I had the misfortune of doing some mischief on a person's house that lived right next to a cop. Right next to a cop. That fucking cop was at my house during dinner. He was at my house during lunch. This motherfucker came to my house so many goddamn times. You know, I was only 14 years old, and I got so tired of him threatening to take me to jail at 14. I said, man, take me to fucking jail or leave me the hell alone. You know, you arrested me. Now let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And exactly. And especially in the poor neighborhoods, when they're investigating the crime, they go grab somebody.
Oh, sure.
And then the investigation doesn't start until your lawyer actually sends somebody out to investigate the situation.
Yeah.
Whereas in the more affluent neighborhoods, they'll take down the details. And even if somebody say, man, it kind of looked like that dude down the street, they will actually investigate where his whereabouts were, this and that there, before restraining him and arresting him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the job is to investigate the crime first.
Sure.
And
but
then apprehend the person.
If you flip side it, if you go to the less affluent neighborhoods and they say, man, that's him, his ass is getting arrested.
It go off top.
Yeah.
No benefit of the doubt or nothing, give him the cuff, and then it's on you to prove that you're innocent.
And on probation, on any kind of supervision, it gets worse because, you know, everybody's heard the boogeyman stories about how the cops roll up at a park and they get people's names and then they find out somebody's on probation and they say, look, man, you better give me something or I'll arrest you.
Yeah.
And you know that's a violation. Your ass is going back to prison. You know, so it gets to the point where a guy on probation really can't even enjoy the liberty of freedom because of the fear of the bad cop.
Yeah. Or being in the wrong area, being misidentified wrongly.
Because for everybody who doesn't know this, failure to remain at liberty is a violation of supervision. So that means if you are arrested and even later acquitted of the crime, just the fact that you were arrested is enough to send you back to prison. And that should be, they should change that. They should change that. That you should have to be convicted of a new crime before you're violated.
Before violated, yeah.
Because that makes being arrested like the be all end all. And then there's no due process. There's no due process. You don't get a chance to defend yourself against the arrest.
No. You have a hearing, so it's like you get to take this to trial. Oh, he violated. You out of here.
Well, let's see. The facts of the matter are you were arrested and you were placed in custody, so you violated your probation. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah.
We'll holler at you.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Sad.
Yeah.
And the saddest thing is that we even have to have these discussions.
But see, you know what I'm going to tell you what's really crazy, just not to just cut you off, but just to interject, that there are so many layers to the things that we go through as ex-inmates, as convicted felons, as guys on supervision, that the American public is completely unaware of. And then if enough people say, hey, this is unfair, this needs to be changed, then how do you go about changing it? Is there a method? Is there a means to change some of these things that need to be changed? Because we are supposed to be a democracy. We are supposed to be a republic of the people. Yet the people have the smallest voice in all aspects.
And the real issue is changing the mentalities, which is almost like, which is the mountain. Because, if you can change people's mindsets, then you can change their actions.
Yeah.
But how to make a person care about somebody that was a convicted felon?
Yeah, right. Most of them, if they don't know somebody, they don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And
or feel like, hey, you shouldn't be out here anyway.
And a lot of people would say, I'm never going to be in that crowd. I'm never going to be part of that problem. So I don't care.
Yeah. But it could be easily that way.
Oh, sure.
Like I said, it doesn't put one drink at the party and then somebody run out in front of your car and they say, no.
That's it.
you DUI.
Listen,
or vehicular homicide.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of unintentional crimes that could bring somebody into contact with the prison system. There's a lot of them. Yeah. But I'll tell you something funny. I know a guy who was in prison for DUI, pretty high profile case from down here. I'm not going to give it was in Palm Beach County. And and he actually said he didn't belong in prison. Here's a guy who wrecked somebody out and then fled the scene. And if he would have, and the guy drowned in a retention pond, like a canal, the victim.
Yeah.
Where if this drunk guy would have stopped and got out and rendered aid, he probably could have saved the guy's life. And this dude is sitting in prison saying, I don't belong here. I'm not a murderer like you are. I'm not a bad guy. Well, wait a minute. You committed a crime too,
Yeah.
And
you left somebody there to suffer on top of it.
Yeah. And my weapon was a firearm. Your weapon was a $300,000 Bentley. So
yeah,
I'm sure guys can put the pieces together for that puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
Palm Beach County, very affluent guy, driving a Bentley. Add it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I ran across plenty of guys like that too that don't feel like they deserve to be in prison because, man, all my life I did this and that, da, 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 da. Okay, but you made a mistake. You did something to come here. But that should open your eyes to say that, hey, man, instead of saying I'm better than these guys around me, I'm like, really, I'm no better than these guys. And so I should start empathizing with guys.
Sure. Too. And you remember how the Parole Commission used to do their evaluations where if you committed your crime under the age of 18, it was very severe. If you committed the crime from like 18 to 36, it was kind of sort of severe. And if it was after 36, it wasn't severe at all.
Yeah.
And I think it should have been the other way around because listen, if you're 36 years old and you're still out here fucking around committing crimes, that's a whole lot worse than somebody who's 14 or 15 or 16 14, 15, years old doing it.
And didn't know didn't really know much about life yet.
Yeah.
Hadn't experienced enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was their way, which I'm kind of glad because it kind of opened the door for us a little bit. But
yeah.
But had they been doing the process fairly, we probably would have been out even before then,
Yeah, yeah. And more guys could have made it out.
Yeah. And dudes now, man, they got this uphill battle, man. They trying to fight. And which is just kills me out of the Supreme Court. Just go back and the Florida Supreme Court, I should put some quotations on that to make sure that
Florida Supreme Court's fucked up.
How they just go back and reverse their own decision.
Yeah.
with no, and it's like it was a whole nother case that they heard and they said, oh, you know what? We're going to reverse this. They just decided to go back. Hey, we're going to revisit this issue.
Yeah, they just violated due process like a motherfucker.
Yeah. So if you weren't right the first time, what quantifies you to be right the second time?
Exactly. And what changed? The law specifically states, stare decisis says that in order for you to revisit a previous decision, some physical element of the situation has to have changed or the law itself fundamentally changed. And all Florida did was saw that another state denied somebody on some grounds completely different from what was going on in Florida. And they said, ooh, we can deny guys too now. Yeah, because they're a bunch of pieces of shit. Yeah.
That's sad.
It is. It's bad. Well,
guys, and they're still suffering.
well, we've been on for quite a while now, and I'm probably going to split this up into 2 different episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Well,
you want to?
definitely a pleasure. Always a chance to get on here and vent, but not even just vent, but just to put the word out, man, because that's my whole thing. You know, I just want people to be educated about, you know, and just see us as people, you know. And if you know somebody, you know, give them a little leeway, you know. Understand, be understanding. You know, look, I'm not saying let nobody run over you, take advantage of you. Period.
Look, being a convicted felon, being an ex-inmate, in no way gives anybody a pass to do anything. You know, it's just no pass for wrongdoing. What I would ask is that look at the individual. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Just like there's good and bad in everybody, there's good and bad in ex-inmates. There's good and bad in convicted felons. And look past it. You know, look past it and try to see them for who they are instead of what they did. You know? And
look at their present actions, not versus their past actions. I mean, when we were kids, we pooped on ourselves and peed on ourselves, you know? But when you become an adult, nobody judges you for that.
Yeah, you don't look at somebody and say, I wonder how many times he crapped his pants when he was 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I ain't gonna talk to you. You used to crap your pants, you know. It took you 2.5 years to get potty trained, or 3 years to get potty trained. I'm not talking to you. It took you too long to be potty trained.
Pissy pants bastard.
Yeah. But if you're a convicted felon, that's just what's gonna happen.
It lasts forever.
30 years. I mean, 30 years ago. I mean, this stuff wasn't even computerized back then.
Right. No, and the other thing, the other hypocrisy of it all is the people who act like they are personally offended by the crime that I committed. I mean, listen, there's certain things I see people do and I get upset about it. I cannot muster up the energy to be really furious about something I didn't even know anything about. You know what I mean?
And then don't even know the participants in the issue. But you got some people that will go to hell and back about some issues that has nothing to do with them, don't affect them, not one iota.
Yeah. You know? And here's the thing, you know, I tell a lot of jokes and I laugh and I play about a lot of stuff. And there are some people in this world who really felt the loss and the impact of my stupidity, of the crime that I committed, you know? And while I can never quantify the loss that they feel, I'll say this, there's nobody who's more sorry about what I did than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because for them, you know, for them, and this, you know, I'm not diminishing, you know, what they go through or what they've been through. But most times, 32 years later, they will think about it when something comes up, you know, like they see something that they know brings them back to that memory or to that crime or to that time in their life. But for me, it's every day. Every day, something about my life is impacted by the decision that I made. Every day.
Yeah. Every day.
Every day.
If it's nothing but, even when you go to the store, I mean, with the mask on, the first thing you do, you're like, man, I know it's mandatory to wear masks, but man, I sure hope nobody don't come in here and think that I'm up to something, man. You know?
Yeah, man. Or you know what I think? The shit that goes through my mind is, I hope that nobody, because I wear one of those black masks with the filters on them, you know what I'm saying? A reusable mask. And I say, I hope nobody wearing a mask like mine does something in here.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, certain areas I try not to even travel in just because I know that if something go down and the police start rounding people up and they run my name, like, so you back on the scene again, huh?
Yeah.
And we got one right here. And you know, and some of them cops are like, oh, he should have never got out. You know,
exactly.
That's the biggest thing. He should have never got out in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, I've run into that. I've run into that. Yeah, I've run into that.
Yeah, and that's a serious issue, you know, and it's a daily issue, you know. Yeah. So anywhere you go at, you know, you might see somebody over there having a good time, throwing a party or something. Hey, man, come on over. So now you thinking like, man, they drinking out there, man, or people getting like get a little rowdy. I want to go, but I think I better
Yeah,
not.
man, listen. On my birthday, a friend of mine was going to set up a little something, and they said, "Man, come on by." And I told him, I said, "Look, man, I don't drink and I don't hang out. So you guys just go ahead and have the party on my behalf. I'm not showing up." You know?
Yeah, and that's just the daily reality of.
Yeah. I thought about asking my probation officer to let me get some fireworks this year. You know what I'm saying? I thought about it. Like, am I allowed? Can I get them? Can I not? And then I thought about it some more, and I said, man, nothing good could really come out of that. A lot of bad things could happen with me setting off some firecrackers and some fireworks somewhere. What if a tree catches fire, or, anything bad could happen. So I just decided, I said, them fireworks are going to have to wait a couple years.
Yeah. Or somebody gets aggravated, call the cops, man. Hey, they shooting around there,
Sure. And then I got to tell my probation officer, I came into contact with the cops because I was lighting off firecrackers.
Yeah.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
Yes. All right, Rob, man.
Well, you want to take us out? I guess I'll do it. Listen, anybody who sat through this, man, we appreciate it. And we know a lot of people come to listen to Michelle talk. That's just the way it goes.
She's a lot prettier than us.
Yeah, right. And she brings in what do I say? The 15 to 18-year-old male demographic.
Yeah.
But if we said anything, man, you find interesting, click like, click subscribe, click share, the whole thing. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free, because we do enjoy the opportunity to revisit some of the things we say that you find interesting. And I'm not sure if I'll probably be doing the descriptions on this one, so it may not be as extensive as what Michelle does. But I'll try to put in some of the contact information for Barry and myself. And just bring some more people with you next time. That's all. We need to get more people involved. We need to get more people involved in the discussion, in the dialogue, because if we're going to bring about any kind of change, it's going to take more people than just me and Barry.
Yeah. And if you have anybody incarcerated, loved ones, friends, or whatever, and they're going through some issues, do not hesitate to contact us, and we will do whatever we can to help you find a resolution for their issues, because we definitely have a heart for that. That's our first passion.
We'll help you, and we'll help you help them. So
exactly.
Anything we can help you navigate, Chapter 33, department policy, anything, especially if it's a visitation issue or anything like that,
or even
please feel free to reach out.
If somebody who's just coming back into society, you want to know how to welcome them back and what you can do to set them up, we're open for that also.
Anything we can help out on. And like I say, when you go to visit, make sure you share our information with your visitation friends, because anybody who has a problem, the more people we can help, the better off we'll be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And hopefully next week we'll have some more people involved. If not, I promise that we're going to have a guest. If it's just me and Barry again, I promise we're going to bring somebody else in here. Okay. That's a promise.
All right, y'all.
See you later.